You think summer camp is all fun and games, laughter, roasted marshmallows, and cozy nights by the campfire, but behind the tents, the rustling trees and the still surface of the lake, lie secrets that were never meant to be told. From a body found deep in the woods, to a chilling story told by a girl no one believed, and finally, a disappearance that led to a horrifying truth buried for decades beneath the lake. These next 3 stories are all based on real events. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and get ready to enter a world of summer camp memories that will forever change the way you see those places. Story 1. The Body in the Woods. My name is Ethan. In the summer of 2021, I was 15, the oldest camper at Camp Lennox in Beckett, Massachusetts. My parents had sent me there to escape the chaos of Boston and maybe to breathe some fresh mountain air in New England after a long year of lockdowns. I'd been going to that camp since 2018, and by that point people saw me as one of the reliable kids, almost like an unofficial junior counselor. But that year, there was one night that made me never want to go back. It started during rope burn night, one of the camp's biggest traditions. The rules were simple. Whichever team built the highest, fastest fire to burn through a rope suspended between 2 poles would win, along with a hot, fresh pizza. I was on the blue team with my friends Riley and Sam. Jake, our team leader, always shouted "Be legendary" before every event. And that night was no different. We were sent out to gather firewood near the edge of the woods. It was routine, we'd done it 100 times. But that night, the forest was unusually quiet. No bugs, no breeze. Just the dim glow of flashlights and the crunch of our feet on dead leaves. "Do you guys smell that?" Riley asked, turning back. A foul stench started to spread so strong it made my skin crawl. Jake winced. "Probably just a dead animal," he said. Seemed reasonable, so we kept going. But the deeper we went, the more uneasy I felt. Something wasn't right about that darkness. Then my flashlight landed on something slumped under an oak tree. At first I thought it was a sleeping bag, but as I got closer, my heart nearly stopped. It was a human body, tattered clothes, grayish skin already decomposing. Eyes wide open, neck bent to one side, as if it was smiling. "Jake," I croaked. Sam and Riley turned their flashlights toward it and instantly stumbled back in panic. Jake shouted, "Step back, don't touch anything." He grabbed his radio and called it in. "We've got a body in the woods. Send someone now. Kids, head back to camp. And don't tell anyone what you saw." We walked back in silence. All I could see in my mind was that corpse, slumped against the tree, staring right at me. That night, the rope burn competition was canceled. The next day, the camp tried to act normal, games, marshmallows by the lake. But no one was really in the mood. Rumors started flying. A murderer in the woods, a ghost that hadn't moved on, a starving drifter. No one knew for sure. Riley kept having dreams, the body standing up and following him. Sam went quiet. Barely ate. Barely slept. I wasn't doing much better. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that face again, like it was waiting for me to come back. Jake stopped by the next night. "You guys doing okay?" he asked. But I could tell he wasn't. The usual spark in his eyes was gone, his face sunken, like he hadn't slept either. When camp ended, I didn't tell my parents a thing. Just said, it was fine. But the truth is, Camp Lennox didn't feel like my childhood escape anymore. It had turned into a place that haunted me. The police later said the body belonged to a man in his mid-30s, suspected suicide. No name released. But one thing always bothered me. How could a dead body sit that close to camp, for who knows how long, without anyone noticing a thing? Unless, of course, we weren't meant to see it. Until that night. Story 2. Emma's story. I was 13 in the summer of 1999, living in Oklahoma City. That night I was staying over at Laya's house, my best friend since elementary school, a sort of end-of-summer tradition. But this time there was someone new, a girl named Emma, a friend of Laya's family. We built a blanket fort in the living room, stocked up on candy and flashlights, and started telling the same old ghost stories we'd all heard a dozen times before. Just for fun. Until it was Emma's turn. She sat up straight, gently set her flashlight aside, and asked, "Can I turn the lights off while I tell mine?" We said yes. The room fell completely still as Emma began. No giggles, no jokes, no hesitation. Just her soft, steady voice cutting through the darkness. My aunt used to be a counselor at a Girl Scout summer camp. One morning after a night hike, she was walking past the path to the restrooms when she saw a sleeping bag in the middle of the trail. She paused. Inside was a little girl, pale, eyes wide open, dead. None of us spoke. There were 2 more sleeping bags nearby. My aunt opened them and found 2 more girls, same age. Emma went on to describe the bruises, the bloody fingerprints inside the tent, much too large to belong to a child, and a flashlight with red tape over the lens as if someone didn't want to be seen in the dark. She looked directly at us. They never caught who did it. People say, he's still out there, hiding in the woods. Laya gave a nervous laugh, trying to break the tension. But I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the floor, every gust of wind through the window felt like someone was watching. I thought Emma had made it all up for effect. Until 7 years later. It was 2006. I was home from college for Thanksgiving and visited Laya's house. After some reminiscing, she looked at me and said, "Do you remember the story Emma told that night?" I nodded. Laya told me she'd quietly done some research. And what Emma said was true. In 1977, 3 girls, Lori Farmer, Michelle Guse, and Denise Milner, were murdered at Camp Scott. And the person who found them, Emma's aunt, Carla Wilhite. The prime suspect was Jean Leroy Hart, an escaped convict. He was arrested but acquitted due to lack of evidence. It wasn't until 2022 that DNA finally matched, but by then, Hart had been dead for over 40 years. Emma hadn't made up a word. She had grown up carrying the memory of a relative who was the first to see those 3 little girls. And the last thing Emma said that night still echoes in my mind. They never caught him. Maybe he's still out there. Story 3. The body in the lake. I used to work as a lifeguard at Camp Valleyway, a summer camp tucked between 2 Appalachian peaks with a big murky lake at its center. I was 15 that summer, my first job. It was one of the hottest days in June during what we called Rich Kids Week, right after Orphan Week, when children from Clarkstown Orphanage were brought in for free. That day, I was patching a sail under the boat shed when Logan, the head counselor, suddenly screamed, "One kid's missing." Someone went under. I was the first in the water. I dove into the deepest section of the swim zone, the water cold, dark, and impossible to see through. Algae wrapped around my legs like hands pulling me down. And then a hand touched my face. I spun around. A face stared back at me, pale, lifeless. Hair floating around her like she'd been electrocuted. Eyes wide open, locked on mine. I grabbed her, tried to pull her up, but something was holding her down. A second later, she was yanked away, disappearing into the blackness below. I burst to the surface, gasping, and shouted, "She's down there! Someone's under the water!" But then, a whistle blew. Logan called everyone out of the lake. Turns out the missing kid had been in the restroom the whole time. People laughed. Logan pulled me aside and growled, "If you pull that stunt again, you're out." No one believed me. I quit the camp a week later. 20 years passed. Then in 2014, I read a news story Camp Valleyway's lake had been drained. And at the bottom, they found 19 teenage bodies weighed down with stones. All the victims were from Clarkstown, the orphanage that had sent kids there every summer. They were never adopted. They were murdered. Their adoption files were forged so the camp could keep collecting state funding. The girl I saw that day, she was probably one of them. And if that rope hadn't rotted away, she would have never floated up long enough for anyone to notice. They tried to bury the truth beneath that lake. But sometimes, what's buried the deepest is the first to rise. 3 stories. 3 moments when the truth quietly surfaced in the dark. We like to think places like summer camps are safe where kids laugh, play, and grow up. But sometimes, those very places are where the worst things have happened, buried in silence, forgotten memories. Or worse, deliberately hidden. If you've ever experienced something strange while camping, share it in the comments. Who knows? Yours might be the next story told here. Thank you for watching. Sleep well, if you can.